I just realized I didn't set any titles, so the title is wrong. This is from The Days Run Away Like Wild Horses Over the Hills by Charles Bukowski. Ants crawl my drunken arms. Oh, ants crawl my drunken arms, and they let Van Gogh sit in a cornfield and take life out of the world with a shotgun. Ants crawl my drunken arms, and they let Rimbald to running guns and looking under rocks for gold. Oh, ants crawl my drunken arms, they put Pound in a nut house and made Crane jump into the sea in his pajamas. Ants. Ants crawl my drunken arms as our schoolboys scream for Willie Mays instead of Bach. Ants crawl my drunken arms, although the drink I reach for surfboards and sinks for sunflowers, and the typewriter fails like a heart attack from the table or a dead Sunday bowl. And the ants crawl into my mouth and down my throat. I wash them down with wine and pull the shades up. And they are on the screen and on the streets, climbing church towers and into tire casings, looking for something else to eat. You're such a lucky audience. I got 2 poems for you today. A poem is a city. A poem is a city filled with streets and sewers, filled with saints, heroes, beggars, madmen, filled with banality and booze, filled with rain and thunder and periods of drought. A poem is a city at war. A poem is a city asking a clock why. A poem is a city burning. A poem is a city under guns, its barbershop filled with cynical drunks. A poem is a city where God rides naked through the streets like Lady Godiva, where dogs bark at night and chase away the flag. A poem is a city of poets, most of them quite similar and envious and bitter. A poem is this city now, 50 miles from nowhere, 9:09 in the morning, the taste of liquor and cigarettes. No police, no lovers walking the streets. This poem, this city, closing its doors, barricaded, almost empty, mournful without tears, aging without pity. The hard rock mountains, the ocean like a lavender flame, a moon destitute of greatness, a small music from broken windows. A poem is a city, a poem is a nation, a poem is the world. And now I stick this under glass for the mad editor's scrutiny. And night is elsewhere, and faint gray ladies stand in line. Dog follows dog to estuary. The trumpets bring on gallows, as small men rant at things they cannot do. Oh, hello there. I didn't see you come in, and I'm not even sure this is working or streaming. Welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show. My name is Thomas Hunt, and here's what's going on in Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is up 3.2% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 10,019, a high of 10,072, and a low of 9,633. That's $1 for 9,976 Satoshis, well under the 10,000 Satoshi barrier. It turns out that if you bought near the 15,000 Satoshi barrier, you got a good deal. Checking out Bitcoinal, it's sunshine and rainbows, but we do have some clouds out there. 10,014 on the Bitcoinal price tracker at bitcoinal.com, made by our friends DJ Booth, who also made Tallycoin. So check that out. 3 reasons why the crypto markets have crashed today. Oh, what a difference 24 hours makes. It's better to write your articles faster than that. Crypto today, Bitcoin weekly closure is worrying. Not so much. Golden Cross gives little relief as Bitcoin risks fall below 2020 bullish trend line. Oh, so many charts. Bitcoin price, Golden Cross hints at 170% rally to 26,000 by the halvening. Oh, if only we knew the price of Bitcoin on the halvening. If only we had a magical ball that could predict the price of Bitcoin. Well, let's just go straight to the ball. We're going to stop the screen share, mess up the focus. Hello, focus, focus. And here we are. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher or lower than $26,000 on the date of the Bitcoin halving? We're talking around May of 2020. Here we are. Higher or lower, May of 2020. Higher or lower than 26K? Will it be higher? Outlook good. Outlook good. The ball hath spoken. And now back to the news. Isn't it great? We know what's going to happen now that we've talked to the ball. Everything is fine. Could Bitcoin be tax-free under new Trump policy? I doubt that. Senior official for Donald Trump has proposed that a new economic stimulus package include additional tax-free investments, which could apply to Bitcoin. Sounds like a lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda, maybes. Seems very unlikely. Samsung is quietly becoming a major Bitcoin, crypto, and blockchain player. I know one of those things is real. This is more on the back of the Samsung Galaxy smartphone, which could be one of the bigger drivers for Bitcoin adoption. Samsung is putting the power, there it is again, Bitcoin, crypto, and blockchain. Those are just not all the same thing. Samsung, which makes up 19% of global smartphone sales, is presuming to include a built-in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency wallet. It might just be easier to skip to Bitcoin, but you got to like their style. Microsoft's Ion is an open source bet on Bitcoin. That sounds like a good bet. I always wondered what happened to all the R2 and all the other blockchains and databases. It just seems like they come back and work on Bitcoin instead. The $800 million Bitcoin wallet that no one wants to touch. The sixth largest Bitcoin address boasts nearly 80,000 Bitcoin from the first Mt. Gox hack, but has been untouched for over 9 years. Will anyone ever be able to move the funds? More importantly, were they from an inside job? Allegedly, no one knows. Da-da-da-da. Peter Schiff concedes Bitcoin profitable, but won't succeed as money. He's moving those goalposts. You got to love all the tweets Max Kaiser's been putting out about this guy, Peter Schiff. I tried to get him to buy Bitcoin at 1. I tried to get him to buy Bitcoin at 10. I just couldn't get him to do it. And now that it's almost $10,000, of course he wants Bitcoin. Of course he's into it now. Before, not so much. We're checking out the chat. Chat wants to know if this is live. The Astros cheated in the World Series. It's live. That weird movie Parasite won the Oscar for Best Picture. I still haven't seen it. The title is Bitcoin Group 212. That's true. I might fix it later. I might not. It's too many buttons to push. Bitcoin ready to explode, according to this key metric. No, the show is not live. It is not live. The Astros did not cheat in baseball. Crypto enthusiasts are still divided on whether the halving is already priced in. You don't say. Google Trends data reveals that the search term Bitcoin halving is gaining traction. That sounds good. Analysts believe that Bitcoin will soar. That's not the word, crash. Soar after the halving generates media hype. You don't say. So I've been telling people about this for a while. If you look at CNBC and they have the price of Bitcoin on there, as sad as it is, the price of Bitcoin is probably going to go down because they're paying attention to it. If they don't have the price on Bitcoin on there, if they've given up, then the price is going to go up. If you notice the last 6 months or so, CNBC, which was such a important coverage area for Bitcoin, they had that little pop-up window. They didn't integrate it into the charts because you don't want to give Bitcoin full integration. You just want a little pop-up window. And then as the Bitcoin price drifted down and the attention in the industry and all those things started to go away, they removed the little Bitcoin price window. And that's when things started happening. That's when it was a good buy, when they weren't talking about it. Now, as soon as they re-add that little Bitcoin price window, as soon as they start talking about the halving every day, I'm just basically reminding you the media is worthless if you want to track trends and information, if you want to know what's going on. You're getting a great idea of what happened yesterday. It's a lot like the weather report. Did it rain yesterday? They know for sure yesterday, and they don't know shit about tomorrow, but they're getting better. Weather reports are better than they used to. Speaking of people that don't know shit about tomorrow, Ripple Chief says he's a Bitcoin investor, compares Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. Well, I'm sure he loves Ripple. I'm sure he loves having control of so many ripples. He also basically has been saying lies about Bitcoin and Ethereum mining. They really want to show me notifications there. And they've got pop-ups. Oh, everything's so great. Let's see what he said. It's right above this sponsored thing that looks just like a quote. China controls the Bitcoin blockchain. There are 4 miners in China that represent 60% of mining capacity, and 80% of mining capacity is based in China for Bitcoin and Ether. There it is. You know, guns drawn, shots fired. Ooh, Ripple, a centralized currency where the main company owns all of the currency, is making fun of Bitcoin. How nice. How nice. Remember what's that thing Gandhi said, you know, first they ignore you, then they fight you, then you win. Something like that. He might not have even said it. Shots fired. See, I told you it was getting violent. As Ripple CEO slams Bitcoin for centralization in China. Now they're saying in the chat, what about the IOTA market? Isn't IOTA centralized? They turned off the whole blockchain. Turned off the blockchain? I didn't know you could turn off an immutable database. Oh. Well, you can't turn off Bitcoin, but you can turn off these other goofy semi-blockchains, even Bitcoin. The word blockchain was never used in the white paper. It's not that important. Craig Wright doubles down on Satoshi claim, says Bitcoin Core infringes his database rights. You got to love this Craig Wright. He just keeps coming back, even after William Shatner, Captain Kirk himself, pounded him and his supporters on Twitter over and over again. Relentless, relentless, right on, bloodthirsty pounding from Shatner. Still, this man without proof, this man without the keys, says he's the one. Great stuff, man. What's he doing now? Oh, he's got a blog post. That's great. I remember all the legal blog posts that I've read, all the legally binding, contractual, cryptographically proven blog posts. I'm sure his blog post was on the blockchain and locked up. Dun, dun, dun. He even says that the Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin ABCs are using his database without authority. When are we going to be rid of this alleged con man? When will we be rid of him? Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever that is. Well, this is true, though. TV host Max Kaiser says Bitcoin will go to $400,000, not $100,000. This comes on the hedge of Max Kaiser officially convincing conspiracy theorist Alex Jones that Bitcoin is a good thing, much like with Ron Paul. When we really needed someone like Alex Jones to talk about Bitcoin, he wasn't there, thinking that Bitcoin's a government conspiracy. Oh, frogs make you gay, or whatever he says, all those kind of things. I'm in a mood today with these impressions, but get me in trouble. But yes, Alex Jones is a Bitcoiner now. Rah, rah, rah. Max thinks that's taking us to 400,000 instead of 100,000. That's great. Sadly, this being repeated over and over again just kind of shows that as much as I like and support Max Kaiser, his predictions are more optimistic. I don't know, than serious chart reading or even just a reasonable hope. So I like him out there. I like him cheerleading for us, but quadrupling the prediction doesn't help say that the prediction originally was founded on anything. The nothing that I founded on it, I quadrupled it. Oh, check it out. It's Bitcoin Talk Show, even though the title's wrong. And I'm just going to change it later. No one will ever know. But there is a thing called Bitcoin Talk Show. If you want to join us from the chat, I'll even try to find the words. You can call now, join the conversation, and Skype us on World Crypto Network. That's all one word, World Crypto Network. Or you can Skype us on the phone. It's like phone, but Skype at 1-518-600-1949. We'll try to keep the phone lines open for a little bit here. If you guys have a comment We're also going to check in with the chat. They say Alex should focus on Bitcoin instead of gay frogs. I'm in agreement with that. He also he took it really bad for that Sandy Hook thing. There was a whole thing. He believed that Sandy Hook people were crisis actors or fake. He went kind of out on the limb on that one. He took it in the shorts, and they kind of attacked him and destroyed everything else that he ever said. But that's been one of the things with people like Alex Jones or, gosh, I forget, David Icke, the footballer from the UK. They have a lot of information. Some of it's interesting, some of it's not interesting. And if they can get you with some information that's not interesting, they can paint over all your other information. So once again, you just have to do your own research, make up your own mind, who you believe, what you believe, if you like them, you don't like them, et cetera, et cetera. It is another big player joining the Bitcoin space, even if you don't like Alex Jones. So tell us in the chat. They're saying, let's see, going back to the beginning, they say the price should go higher. Is this show live? And you can never tell. I could be playing replays. But I interacted with the people and convinced them it was live, even though this is on tape. It's just that advanced a computer program. Yuva says he got the last buy under 10K. His Bitcoin will be famous. Legendary. It was funny. The last time we broke 10K, I think Hodlnot put out a tweet where he was like, oh, we're over 10K. We'll never be below 10K again. And then whoop. And then even this time, it's like everyone's like, oh, we'll never be below it again. But I don't know. We always go up and down. I'm still looking for that 1200 number. Gotta buy back if it goes below 1200. So they say Ripple is cripple. Someone still wants Ripple. Says the cross-border payments platform for the world. They're going to get IOTA. As soon as they turn it back on, he's got to get some. All right. Coronavirus mentioned by Audio Video Tweaker. So we will open that up. That's a topic of conversation if you want to talk. It's starting to hit the mainstream stock markets and financial news markets. Apple may not be able to produce the number of iPhones that they wanted to make because the workers can't go to work because the virus quarantine situation has them kept at home. So this is affecting the world market, as they're saying with Bitcoin. Not only does this affect the ability to produce new chips for Bitcoin, it also affects the ability of basically Bitcoin mining factories to have people putting those new chips and new boards into practice, taking down the old ones, maintenance, and so forth. So this might see the Bitcoin hash rate slow or stop growing, at least if it's based on Asia. If people see this as an opportunity in non-Asian markets to increase their Bitcoin hash rate, which still could be very difficult if they have to get the chips from China, then maybe it still keeps climbing somehow. But otherwise, yes, we are starting to see the size of this pandemic affect everything, because the Chinese economy is connected to everything, even Bitcoin. But it doesn't make the frogs gay. No, it doesn't. So we're just checking out the top stories here on Bitcoin. I saw the price breaking through 10,000 again. I thought it'd be fun to turn on the show, give this a try. We're trying to do more shows lately, trying to get back on a schedule, but it's just very difficult to keep a schedule. We're coming up on Unconfiscatable Conference right here in Las Vegas. We're going to be attending that. Hope to see you guys there. Should be hopefully a relatively affordable conference. I think it was around $300. I don't know. As long as you don't do the poker tournament, that's expensive. That's an expensive loss. But it's going to be a fun time. We're going to do the World Crypto Network Pinball Spectacular, I think on Thursday or Friday. That's really catching up. I have to find out when that is, but I'll just drive on down to the pinball place. There's going to be a competition. We'll find out who the best pinballer in Bitcoin is. It's not going to be me. I might compete. I might try to MC and help out and, commentate and drum up the competition. But yeah, we're going to find out who the best pinballer in Bitcoin is. Then the next day or a couple of days later, they're going to find out who the best poker player is in Bitcoin right here at Unconfiscatable Tone Vase Conference. So check that out. Say, should get your MacBook Pro. Oh, get it now while the prices are up? I don't know if we're at that point yet. I'm saving up my stupid Apple Cash for my Apple Card to get a new computer. It's going to take a long time at 1% of my purchases, but still sounds fun. So we're checking out the top stories today. Bitcoin price over 10,000. Check it out there on Bitcoinal, which I think he has bitcoinal.com. I don't know. You just search for Bitcoinal like seasons. See, right now is a good season. Everything is green, but there are some clouds out there. And then if the Bitcoin price went down, this chart would change. It would be all lightning bolts and rain and stuff. Joe Mama has a question from the crowd. He says, if Bitcoin were a person, who would you want it to be? It's an interesting question. I think I think you start by thinking about neutral people. I think about Gandhi. I think about Gandhi, Martin Luther King, maybe the Dalai Lama. Going to get in some Tibet, China territory there. But if you think about Gandhi, and especially I'm talking about the movie Gandhi, because that's really the Gandhi that I know. I mean, I've read about half of one of his autobiographies, but that's not really knowing Gandhi. I mean, I know Ben Kingsley is Gandhi, but the way that Gandhi stood up and he stood for what was right, and he was like, well, we're not going to be overtaxed for this salt, and Indian people should not be second-class citizens, and England should kindly shake hands and leave. And Gandhi was like, what can you do? You should leave. And they didn't leave. And then, he led his peaceful, nonviolent revolution for about 10 years or whatever it was. Apologies, I haven't studied it recently, but and then they left. They left behind a mess on his doorstep by separating Pakistan from India and creating a huge mess that we're still dealing with today, just like in Iraq and Iran, all these false countries that the British seem to create on their way out the door. But still, Gandhi's example of nonviolent protest and rebellion against a major force like the British Empire, and it did cost them lives and it did cost them, tragedy and so forth, but they fought and they won. They're saying in the chat they like Jesus, and the example of Jesus chasing the money changers out of the temple, which I agree is a very Bitcoiny scene. They would exchange money, currency exchange, and so on and so forth, but they did it inside of the Jewish temple, the house of worship. So one day, in a scene worthy of a lot of Jesus movies, and I think it's been in a lot of Jesus movies, Jesus overturned their tables and chased the money changers out of the temple. This comes to the idea where Jesus told you to pay your taxes. He says, give unto God what is God's, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Kind of referring to the idea that normal ground-based human currency is not as valuable as the positive currency of doing good things and being valued in the eyes of the Lord. We're getting very religious here. They also say that Jesus was against the slave drivers who are keeping us powerless and perhaps even keeping us blind to lacking of religious truths or worshiping of false gods, very much into those. Thou shalt have no God but me. It's right there in the words. But it's funny, we go right to religious figures. He said, freeing the slaves reminded me a little of Spartacus. We recently lost Kirk Douglas, legendary actor, and a lot of people remember just that scene, but the whole movie's good. It has lots of chariot races and makes a good compliment to Ben-Hur if you're looking for something old to watch. But yeah, Spartacus standing up and saying, I am Spartacus. I am Spartacus. And this has happened a lot on Bitcoin with Satoshi and, of course, the HODL knot. I am HODL knot. I am Satoshi Nakamoto. Satoshi is a woman. Satoshi is me, or Satoshi is you. Satoshi is all of these random things that we can attach to Satoshi because we just don't know, and likely and hopefully we'll never know who Satoshi is. They also said in the chat that Bitcoin is like Shaquille O'Neal, a famous legendary basketball player, that because he dominates the league and you don't want to play against Shaq, and he's got feet bigger than anyone. If you've ever seen his shoes, he gives people his shoes as like a trophy or a signature item. But yeah, that's a good one. I could see Bitcoin as Shaquille. He is very large. Sadly lost his little friend Kobe. They're saying if we're into religious things, who is Judas? Who is the Judas of Bitcoin? And there's obviously, they've said already in the chat that Roger Ver is a bit of a Judas. He used to be a big fan of Bitcoin, but now he's a fan of Bitcoin Cash and maybe even Bitcoin SV and maybe even Bitcoin Cash without the fee. They have a 12.5% developer tax that they want to put on. He might not be a fan of that. Interesting to see his views continue to develop. It's sad what happened to Roger. It seems almost we're going all religious today, but an expulsion of paradise, right? He was in a kind of a paradise. He was seen as Bitcoin Jesus. He was respected and loved. Then he went outside of that paradise into the desert and became this kind of rambling madman, believing that if he only talked about, or if he only funded, or if he only did this, or if he only bought Bitcoin.com, or if he only controlled the at Bitcoin Twitter account for just a year, or whatever it was, that somehow, some way he could create a new paradise and then be back to where he was in the garden of being Bitcoin Jesus. But that was never to be. His new paradise was a false paradise, and he could never find his way back into the garden. It's also reminiscent of Eric Voorhees. There's a big interview with him in CoinDesk recently. Everyone should, of course, check that out. You've seen the tweets. And Voorhees started out with Satoshi's Dice, which was I believe, a provably fair gambling game, but it was a gambling game. And it was sold to someone, question mark, question mark, question mark, for a lot of money. And it kind of went away and disappeared. But there was also a thing he made after that called Shapeshift. And at Shapeshift, you could trade any cryptocurrency for any other cryptocurrency through a matching service. And they allegedly, at the time, didn't know who you were. So it was an exciting service. And then when they changed to knowing who you are, they allegedly, according to this, dropped 95% of their customers. 95% stopped using this service. So in that way, Voorhees has spoken out in favor of Ethereum and spoken about all these other things and seems to have drifted. So he's another one who might be a Bitcoin Judas. It might also be one of those things where if you survive long enough in Bitcoin, you eventually become an altcoiner or a scammer or whatever, or you have to. There's something about the space shapes and changes people. Even the most ridiculously successful, like Voorhees or Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, who can't even bring himself to say the word Bitcoin, saying crypto all the time. Oh, it's good for crypto, or oh, there's a real market for crypto. And it's great that he wants to encrypt things. And it's great that he's probably a fan of PGP and, thinks you should really be locking down your hard drive and using that file vault on the Apple and, having a secure encrypted world, because that's what the word crypto means. If he wants to talk about cryptocurrency, he's going to have to use a bigger word. And of course, if he wants to really talk about cryptocurrency, you should talk about Bitcoin. You should stop saying crypto. It's funny, I'm on the World Crypto Network, but at the time we launched this, there was already a World Bitcoin Network, and this was seen as a more generic and generic term like Kleenex or whatever. So, but still, Brian should say Bitcoin. Voorhees has lost his way. The CEO of blockchain.info or whatever it is, blockchain.com wallet, he seems well off on his way, doing what he wants and things. A lot of these people have drifted into the tokens and out of the tokens. I don't think that makes them Bitcoin Judas or anything like that, but I think you have to put them on the list. they're a possibility. I mean, we're not screaming out at them like Bob Dylan when he went electric, but they're saying down below that B Cash will become B Tax. That's funny. They say Peter Schiff is kind of like a Judas. He'd tell on Bitcoin for 30 silver coins. I don't know. We see the recent Max Kaiser Peter Schiff dust up after dust up after dust up. If you've been in this a while, you kind of stop caring if this Peter Schiff guy who doesn't like Bitcoin doesn't want to be a Bitcoiner. I don't care. I mean, I'm really not that interested, but apparently it matters to Max, and he's been making a big deal about how he told him about Bitcoin at 10 and 100 at 1,000 and at 20, all these things. And now Schiff was trying to get into his Bitcoin. Of course, he had a blockchain.info wallet, so he didn't know how to use it like everyone else who's ever used blockchain.info. But eventually he was able to distinguish that his PIN number was not the same as his password, and he figured out how to get into his Bitcoin. So tragedy over, crisis over. They say the Knights of the Templar are maxis. Not sure what that means, but I did get to go to Malta. It was pretty cool. Everyone's chasing the Ark of the Covenant, and that, yes, Bitcoin will illuminate darkness with the light of truth. Everybody's full of religious imagery today, but it does have a purity to it, the Bitcoin, and it does seem like an important thing. It's fun to be here at $10,000 with you guys. I just saw it going over that and thought it would be fun to get on here and talk. Remember when it was $1,000? Remember when it was $100? Everyone said we were full of shit. What are they saying now? But a lot of people said even this 10,000 wouldn't happen and that it won't last and that we're going back to 5K and we're going back to 3K and we're going back to 1,500. So remember, as long as the prediction comes and says, oh, I'm going on both sides and I don't have money in the game, it's not a very good prediction. If you're going on one side and you got your money in the game, still not a very good prediction. No one can tell the future, but at least you got your money in the game. We're going to keep this open for phone calls for just a few more minutes. This is Bitcoin Talk Show, even though it's labeled as Bitcoin Group, and I'm going to go change the label and then everything's going to be fine. But yes, next time I'll try to push the label part. You can call now, join the conversation on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word, or on the phone at 1-518-600-1949. I talked a little on Twitter recently about catching up with some old shows. I hadn't finished, still haven't finished, Man in the High Castle, Mad Men, Boardwalk Empire, or House of Cards. So a lot of these I've watched at least half of. I know what's going to happen. You don't have to spoiler me. I'm sure this one dies and that one dies and whatever, and it's big endings. But I'm interested to finish up some of these shows. I like that they have endings now. It feels a lot more like, oh, if I just get 2 more seasons done, then I'm out. I'm done. No more forever. Man in High Castle has been improving, but it is very, very, very slow. And there's a lot of people standing around talking. Every once in a while, there's some incredible imagery of this alternative universe. In case you haven't heard of the show, it's an alternative universe basically where the Nazis and the Japanese won the war. So every once in a while, they show a building in New York City with a big evil flag on it, or they show a Liberty Bell being melted down into a swastika, stuff like this. Very shocking and controversial imagery. But that's kind of what the book and the show and the idea is about. It's this idea. And for a long time, it was just an idea in Philip K. Dick, a novel in his world. And now it's a TV show. So it's a much more visual and thoughtful thing. People can watch it. I think a lot of these TV shows are just people don't read books. So they just watch these TV shows. Then House of Cards, obviously, I didn't really watch the last season after Kevin Spacey was dismissed for being out of control theater guy, Kevin Spacey, and all the other things that he may or may not have done. I don't have any information on that. But it kind of put a damper on the show. I think the woman, Robin Wright Penn, takes over and runs the show for a while. I'm not sure how that turns out, but the show ended quickly after, so couldn't have been that good. But that'd be a nice one to finish up. Mad Men, it just kind of drifted. It seemed like we're doing another kind of Game of Thrones where everything's happy at the beginning and then everything drifts apart and things get worse and worse and worse for the madman. Which of course, if you watch it, you kind of end up working for Draper. It says messages have to be allowed. Okay, so I need to check the call-in number. That's good feedback. Good feedback. Lols. So yeah, the call-in number says messages aren't allowed. So you have to call on Skype. Whatever. Get a Skype account. But yeah, didn't finish up House of Cards. Didn't finish up Boardwalk Empire. Just the episodic nature of it wasn't working for me. I wanted to watch it all at once, and now that's available. Then the other one. No, those are the 4. Then recently I watched Mr. Robot as well, the 4th season. Hadn't caught up on that week by week, but it was great to watch it all together. And if you haven't watched Mr. Robot, I'm envious of you. You get the chance to watch it all together like a giant movie. It's pretty cool. Oh, Jeremy's crying censorship. Well, the Google thing broke the phone number. I don't know. It says messages have to be allowed. I thought I just tried calling it before the show. It didn't work. But yeah. Hi, John. You have 1 missed call. That was from me. So the calls get through, but they just go to messages, is what you're saying. So I have the window open and everything. There was a question. These are all questions from 2014. These are not very good messages. Oh, here's some messages. But he put his phone number in here. These things about Bitcoin Cash. He wants information. You have to call before we're going to reinstate your car's warranty. And here we go. Let's try this one. Let's see what happens.
Hey, my name is Mark Benjamin. My email's
Rah, 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 rah,
markben19
rah.
into Bitcoin
All right, sorry,
so
Mark.
that they
Don't
can
want your
be
email out there.
codependent.
He wants to integrate
Um,
different
so
offsprings
if you
into
have to,
Bit. So he's saying that he wants Bitcoin forks to be independent. Well, I mean, there kind of is. There's a thing called merged mining. Like, for example, on Litecoin, the Dogecoin chain or something is maintained through Litecoin. This is kind of a sharing agreement what they have where Litecoin can share with Doge and Doge can still exist. The problem is that these Bitcoin forks weren't really launched in a scientific or a explorative way or even a fun way like Doge. These forks were kind of attacks and attempted takeovers of Bitcoin. So it's going to be very difficult for anyone to be interested in the idea of integrating with them because it's very difficult to name any concrete advantage that Bitcoin would get out of that integration. It's like when you're the supreme predator, when you're a shark and you want to integrate like a bird or something, it doesn't really fit with your shark lifestyle. So that would be interesting. Let's see what else.
please answer that question on air or off air and have a wonderful day.
Hey,
And
hey, let's have a good day. He's also saying maybe the nodes could carry different coins. I think that he'd like to look into the Dogecoin Litecoin situation. I think that if one of these, and we are starting to see it with other coins, there's a big hubbub on Twitter about Tron, and that Tron used to be an ERC20 token, and then they were something else, and then now they're going to be a liquid Bitcoin token. So in a lot of ways, this is better because the liquid Bitcoin tokens are somehow, I don't know, they're linked to Bitcoin. So they're better. But it's still just kind of a generic token, and you're still just kind of generically gambling on this company that uses the very popular movie name Tron, which Walt Disney finally stepped in and told them at least a little bit to stop doing. But they used the movie name Tron, raised a bunch of money, bought the big name BitTorrent, the company, not the guy who made BitTorrent, Bram Cohen, who doesn't like Tron at all. And now they're going to use their money to buy Steemit. The I don't know. They printed their own altcoins, triple-headed monster. We've talked about a bunch of times, but they built a lot of community and they have some content over there. So it's an interesting project in that way. If you pay people, they'll do things. but if you just make the money that you pay them with, who's going to buy it from them? And that's always been the problem. But what I was going to say, so Tron switched over. So there's a lot of talk of other tokens and other things becoming liquid Bitcoin things. So we'll have to see how that goes. We're checking out some more of the calls, except they're kind of older. So at least at one point the answer machine was working, so you could call in. This guy has some things. Let's see what he says. Nothing about Bitcoin Cash. I like how they all. This guy's
Name no, bro.
okay. So
Keep
Tony.
lately for months, so I haven't been keeping up with things, looking, reading, or anything. So I've been hearing something about has Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash is one of them fork, or was there a segue or something? I just wanted some current information on that. Just happened to catch your show.
All right, thanks, Tony. He's asking about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. He might be referring to the break off of Bitcoin SV. So now there's another Bitcoin Cash. And he also might referring to what happened with Bitcoin Cash. They basically are out of money. And when they're out of money, they look for a place to get money. And this is what's just so funny about this because it's such a libertarian idea. But Roger Ver, who's kind of in charge, or he's with the gang over there at Bitcoin Cash and all them. One of the first things that happens when you're libertarian is you build this beautiful independent government, and then you need money, or then you need something, right? And you're like, well, what are we going to do? And they're like, well, we could tax everyone in our new government. And it's like, no, no, don't do it. Well, they did it. So there's going to be a new version of Bitcoin Cash where they tax the miners 12.5% and take the money and give it to the developers. So I don't know. It's opened up all the old libertarian ideas of who controls the tax and who says they're the developers, and do the miners get any say in this, and who's in charge, and all those things. They're saying in the chat room we have a new deal, which again the negotiations have started. Only 5% now. 12.5% was too high. The same thing is happening in Zcash, who has a similar founders reward. Remember, Zcash was famously forked by my friend Rhett Creighton into Zen or something else, Zcash Lite, something like that. Anyway, all he did was remove the founder's reward. Same kind of thing. Founders reward, every block that's printed on Zcash, the founders, who are kind of like a team of developers and other people, kind of like a foundation, would get some money. Well, it turns out they weren't getting enough money either. So they're going to want to make a bigger founders reward on Zcash. I think this one tailed out or something. They were overly optimistic that Zcash would go up in value, funding them forever, which is kind of what happened to Ethereum, except that they dumped all of their Ethereum on you. When the market went up really high, Vitalik, who advised, and Vitalik himself, the coin consensus, whatever it is, their foundation thing, they dumped millions of dollars on Ethereum, so onto their fans, and they took it out in dirty cash, which they hold to this day. Just like when the Litecoin guy dumped on his fans, and so on and so forth. They say it's going to be written into the protocol, not just a miner thing. The miners will still have to run the software, though. So if the miners all decide not to upgrade their software, then there'd be at least 2 versions adding to the other version of Bcash. So, and good luck explaining that to a new person why you're the best. We're the best because we got 3 versions and nobody knows which is which. And they're all compatible, so you can send coins from any of them by accident and lose all of your coins. So that's great. Oh, the clouds are settling in. We had a little bit of sunshine on the Bitcoinal chart, but it's looking like 10,082. We may be dipping a little bit. Let's see. I don't know if there's a way to zoom this in or something. I can just plus or minus it. It didn't really help. Okay. Ooh, that kind of made it worse. All right, so I'm messing up my friend's thing on TV, Bitcoinal. But yeah, the price is maybe dipping a little bit, but I'm trying to get a better chart. Oh yeah. Oof. Oh, I would quit. Time to get out. No, I'm sure we're fine. But still, we're up 4% on Bitcoin average with a last of 10,097, a high of 10,097, a low of 9,633. That's $1 for, let's try a quick refresh, 9,917 Satoshis. Checking out the top stories today on Bitcoin Talk Show. Just wanted to do a quick update for everyone, hang out with the chat room a little bit because we got some great stories and we got some sunshine on the Bitcoinal chart. 3 reasons why crypto markets have crashed today. Oh, that was yesterday. Crypto today, Bitcoin weekly closure is worrying. What's the opposite of worrying? It's the opposite of that. Golden Cross gives little relief as Bitcoin risks fall below 2020 bullish trend line. Ooh. Bitcoin price Golden Cross hints at 170% rally to $26,000 by the halving. We asked the Magic 8 Ball, the predictor of all that is good and true in Bitcoin, if the price would be above $26,000 by the halving. It said, outlook good. Outlook good. Focus bad. Outlook good. Could Bitcoin be tax-free under new Trump policy? No, it's ridiculous. A senior official for President Donald Trump has proposed that a new economic stimulus package won't pass, included additional tax-free investments, bullshit, which could apply to Bitcoin too. Unlikely. So very unlikely, but it's fun to talk about, I guess. Samsung is quietly becoming a major crypto and blockchain player, but my camera doesn't focus anymore. Bad camera. Microsoft's Ion is an open source bet on Bitcoin. That sounds good. Microsoft, another highly profitable company that releases open source software. It even bought that thing where everyone uploads all their code, GitHub. Microsoft open sourced their operating system, all kinds of things like that that no one ever believed possible, but open source continues to win. The $800 million Bitcoin wallet that no one wants to touch. The 6th largest Bitcoin address boasts nearly 80,000 Bitcoin from the first Mt. Gox hack, inside job, but has been untouched for over 9 years. Will anyone ever be able to move the funds? Peter Schiff concedes that Bitcoin is profitable, but that it won't succeed as money. Sounds like he's drifting. Sounds like a slippery slope. Bitcoin ready to explode, according to this key metric. That's right. People are Googling Bitcoin halvening, trying to understand what it is. Ripple chief says he's a Bitcoin investor and compares Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple, but he doesn't like Bitcoin. He says China controls the Bitcoin blockchain. There are 4 miners, just 4, in China that represent 60% of the mining capacity, and 80% of the mining capacity is based in China for Bitcoin and Ether. Ooh. Shots fired as Ripple CEO slams Bitcoin for centralization in China. This coming from Ripple, a centralized currency. And finally, Craig Wright doubles down on Satoshi claims, still not providing any proof, and now saying that Bitcoin Core infringes his database rights. Well, if he'd only supply the proof, we'd see if he had any rights. And TV host Max Kaiser says that Bitcoin will go to $400,000, not $100,000, mainly because of the adoption by cryptocurrency fans suddenly and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. Unfortunately, quadrupling the prediction shows that Max's prediction was kind of arbitrary to begin with. Mad Bitcoin still holds the record for the longest and highest prediction of Bitcoin price, predicting infinity. As the Bitcoin price infinity, all value will be converted into Bitcoin and the market will flip. You'll have to determine the value of other things in Bitcoin. So thanks for joining us on this quick update episode of Bitcoin Talk Show that's mislabeled as Bitcoin Group. I'll do better the next time, and I hope you'll join us then. We'll be back tomorrow, maybe the next day, and then we'll be starting the Unconfiscatable Conference right here in Las Vegas. We'll be broadcasting live with the board and the microphones and all the things that we have. We'll be putting them in the car and driving down there, getting you the best audio and sound and video from the conference, hopefully some good interviews if people actually want to be interviewed this time and they're not a bunch of pussies. So it's up to them to get on the channel, to get on the show. We'll be there. We'll have the microphones. We'll have the couches. And hopefully we'll get some good interviews at Unconfiscatable. So join us here, which is just like joining us there. Give us a thumbs up and a share. Subscribe down below. Push the bell for notifications. And until next time, bye-bye.